Hi, welcome back. This is Stan the Riverman. Yes, I'm a man of many hats, and today I'm on the river, the Licking River here in Covington, Kentucky. So, in my last video, I covered some basic stuff, and I'm going to speak in general terms, probably a little bit of history today about the river and how it affects the community, and how they're interrelated and codependent on each other. But I'm in a spot right now that is what I refer to as a horseshoe cutout. What happens is these large, and you can see that's a pretty large cottonwood tree, the riverbank gets undercut, they get top heavy and they flop over in the water, and then that exposes more of the riverbank and ground to erosion. And when the river gets back up this next time, all this exposed ground gets washed out, and it's actually happened continuous. And you can see that cottonwood right there. I'll bet you that when we come back and check on this in June, that it is probably in the river. That's how fast the erosion is happening down here. So you hear about global warming, and it seems like a distant issue. It doesn't connect to where you live, but I can tell you, if you live in Covington, it does affect you, because the city's responsible for the levee system. We have a levee system that protects the city from high water, and the problem is the levee system is being threatened because of the erosion and the landslide, which I'll show in a minute. But it's an ongoing issue for the city, and they spent $3 million a few years ago to repair the levee, and they're looking at some more money. So this area up here, this is the southern area of the Covington section. It's being threatened, and it has been threatened through erosion. So the solution is, for some people, is to build a wall. Well, my solution was, if you planted trees 10 or 20 years ago, some good hardwoods like hickories that have a good root system, maybe they would have held all this shoreline. But it's too late for that now. So I'm going to show you down a little ways, probably a couple hundred yards, of what the solution was. So I call this video the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is the ugly because this is the erosion part, and the bad is what the fix is down here, and then the good is a site that I was able to put reforestation plants in and hold the site, when we'll cover that later. So I'm going to pause right now and walk up on top of the shore and give you a look at what the levee wall looks like. You can kind of see the wall up above this clearing here, which we're going to go. All right, we're on top. I'm on top of this mound of dirt. So as you can see behind me, where the graffiti is up there, that is our levee system. Part of it. It's a wall that's interconnected with the earthen levees that go along the rest of the frontage. And we are protected on Licking River and the Ohio River by this levee system. It was put in 1948 through 1955. It was under construction because of the 1937 flood that wiped out a lot of areas. So to prevent flooding, we put in a levee system with the Army Corps of Engineers. So you can see the wall back there. So there's the river. So we're pretty close to the river where we're standing right back here. Up on top, and you can see the slippage that's going on from the land to the flood wall. And this literally is a flood wall. So what the problem is, they're afraid, the officials are, that the system's been compromised. And if the foundation or the footer for this concrete it's compromised, this wall could fail. So that's what the big deal is. So right here is one of their seismology boxes. It's got gauges in there of monitoring how much slide is going on a monthly basis. And for a while there, it was pretty extensive. So you can see back there's the taller trees are cottonwoods, and you can kind of see the orange ribbons. Those are some of the native trees I planted, but they're not, it's just too little too late. Okay, I'm a couple hundred yards down the river from the last location, and this is a spot I call the bad. And you're probably thinking, well, it looks pretty good to me. Well, it does look okay, but considering that it's a monoculture, it's just rocks and fescue grass, as opposed to what it used to be. Up there, see the trees up there in the foreground. There used to be trees all the way along the hill up here, the levee system. They allowed trees to grow, and they had big cottonwood trees. And they were, I thought, doing a pretty good job of holding the ground. But they had some slippage, and it started getting worse. So the solution was to put pilings in along, take out all the trees, put concrete pilings in, which that meant digging down like 50 feet in the ground and bore drilling another 80 feet down and putting pressurized concrete in. And they put it, I forget the exact number of holes, let's just say 50. And it was like a $2.3 million job. Well, they realized that a lot of them just disappeared. There was underground water, something was eroding the pilings, the new concrete out. So they had to put in 50 more. So then the bill went up to $3 million. So they spent $3 million, and they realized, whoa, this thing's still slipping. So that's what all those yellow boxes are. They are, like I said, on the other side, the monitoring the movement of the earth. Okay, this in front of me here is a gas line, pipeline marker. And the reason that's here is because there's a 36-inch gas line, main line, that runs down the river. And that's the reason for the wall, because the gas line, where these geese are down there, runs right underneath that. It was in jeopardy of failure, of the shoreline washed away. The water got up almost to the road, and if the gas line broke, it would be a major catastrophe for Duke and for the area. So they got an emergency order. They put in the a request, and Duke did, and they put in this corrugated steel, down about 50 feet, and then the rocks. So that's what this is all about. But the problem I have with it is that it looks clean lines and stuff, but I mean, you don't see birds or any animals in there because it's just rocks. There's 2 ducks on top, but they're in the fescue. But all right, we're going to move down to the next side. Okay, so we're back into what I call the good. This is a location that I call the good location because it's one of the success stories of reforestation along the river. That it shows that if it's done soon enough after one of those trees flops over, that you can preserve the rest of the riverbank. You can see behind me that the erosion was all the way to the crest, and it actually was able to get it to stop. And some of the stuff I used, I'm going to show you here, the different plants, species. I'm going to flip the phone around. Okay, what you're looking at right now is a native species called river cane. And no, it's not bamboo. A lot of people mistake it for bamboo. but it's not bamboo. This is a native species. It was prevalent along wetlands at one time, but farmers didn't like it because it took up crop space, and it is really hard to get rid of. And that's why I like it, is because it's got a really, really mat-like root base. So the first thing I did, I transplanted some river cane into this location with the intent of trying to get it to at least hold the ground. And by doing that, it actually did hold the ground enough that native seedlings like these, I believe these are silver maples, were able to take root also. Otherwise, they'd have got washed out. So I followed up with that with some silky-dogwoods and some roughleaf dogwoods. Here's a silky right there. And they'll lowland, water-loving species, and they started to root out and branch out. So I got away from just using hardwoods like oaks, even though I used swamp oaks in the past, because I needed something fast that could establish a quick solution to the erosion, and this seems to work. So put that in. There's the cottonwood root ball that you see down there that flopped over, and as you can see, this stuff is holding the ground in place, which is a good thing. So if you get to the site soon enough, I'm talking within a year, the other locations upriver, that's what I consider a work zone because the construction is going to be going. So I didn't, those are pretty recent, within the last year or two, those upriver sites, those horseshoe hole areas on the bank, but nothing's in there. I mean, I didn't put anything in there, I didn't plant anything in there because they're probably going to put a wall in or something of that nature, so it's pointless. But this spot is still salvageable, so hopefully they'll leave it alone and just let it do its thing. And this river cane will get thicker and denser, and this won't be an issue. So I was able to take something bad, the erosion, and turn it into a restoration site, renovation of the area, and it's held. So I mean, it just goes to show you that it's not. I know it sounds hopeless, and sometimes it does seem like it's hopeless, but keep the faith. I mean, it gets tiring, especially when idiots pull their seedlings out. When I say seedlings, I'm talking 4 foot, almost saplings, oak trees. I had idiots do that. This area is used by fishermen, and normally I don't like to mark with ribbons the areas that are near anywhere that people are, because they have a tendency to pull these plants out of the ground. Don't ask me why. I guess they figure it's in the way of their casting their poles. Who knows? Or I mean, I don't. You know, after about the 100th time that I found a tree pulled up, yeah, it's heartbreaking. But I don't try to understand them. I just give up on that part of it. So, but fortunately, this is a hard location to get to, and whoever's been fishing here has been leaving the stuff alone. So I'll leave the stuff marked. And the reason I mark it is because, believe it or not, the mowing crews, even though we're this far down the riverbank, they've been known, they got a new boss, and they decided it was a good idea to mow on the river, near the river, which is actually a violation of an order in 2015 was issued by the EPA, and I think the Army Corps, that no mowing is supposed to happen. But a new boss, so guess what? New boss had control. He wanted it mowed so you could stand on top of the levee up there where the walkway is with his blacktop, look down the river in July and be able to see an unobstructed view of the water. Woohoo! So they got their view, and you know, goodbye 300 seedlings saplings that I had planted. Those were history. But that's the reason for I marked these things, to try to keep the city crews from mowing them. And other work crews, even though this last crew, they didn't really seem to care one way or the other. They just did what they wanted to do. But so anyway, so let's not ramble on that story. But yeah, it gets frustrating. But this is a site that is actually turning out pretty good. So I consider it a success. So, or you can just take your little victories when they come, you know. So wrapping up, that's about it for today. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Catch you on the rebound. Hey, it was a blast. Well, I thought I was done shooting for today, but as I'm walking out, I just found another brand new flopped over tree. You can see it down there, and that gives you a perfect example of what happens with the soil and the riverbank, how it exposes it to the high water when it comes up, and this will probably get washed out more. So if you look at this tree, it's a silver maple, and I'll try to enlarge it slowly here for you. You can see it actually just started to break buds. So it was going to have, you know, little helicopters on it. But I would imagine this is probably not going to make it. I mean, there are some roots attached, but the majority of it is down. So it's probably not long for this world as a living tree. You know, it will help. I mean, as long as it's anchored here, it kind of protect the shore a little bit, but not the way it was when it was holding the riverbank. And if you look up here, you can see that taller one there is an oak tree. That's a swamp oak that I put in probably about 7 years ago. So this might really be needed to help sink some roots down and stabilize this. It's a race. It's a race against the river, really, to try to keep up. So, you know, I don't know. I guess maybe I will get some river cane, bring it up here and throw some river cane in here. That seemed to work on the other location. Man, it's a lot of work digging that stuff up. But as you can see, man, this spot here is crying for some help, and I think this spot is out of the work zone. So if I transplant some river cane in here, which, like I said, it's an indigenous native species, and it will do good, but it might be too late. But I mean, it's what else? I mean, you know, I'm running out of money buying seedlings, so I mean, I could probably put some in, but anyway. So just a little add-on, last-minute item here. I'll flip the camera around so you can see me. So, all right, signing off once again. So have a good one.